Welcome to the top 25 stories of 2025 from Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ daily news television show, broadcasting live and available on demand on your favorite streaming channels. We are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we'll tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
You're watching Queer News Tonight, the world's first daily LGBTQ evening news show.
2025 has been one of the most dramatic years for the LGBTQ community. Hotspots Magazine Happening Out television network shared more than 2,500 stories about and for our LGBTQ community. We don't know what 2026 will bring, so we thought we would finish our year by looking back. Of those 2,500 stories, let's look at the top 25 stories of 25. This curated list is drawn from Queer News Tonight, The FayWhat Show, Queer God Squad, and Hotspots Magazine. This was what was important to all of us in 25 of 2025. Let's queer up the top stories of the year. This is number 16 of 2025. Florida school denies trans graduate his chosen name. Queer News Tonight remembers our May 22nd story about a Florida school district that faced criticism for refusing to use a transgender student's chosen name at graduation. Officials cited district policy, while the student's mother argued the decision denied her son's identity. The dispute unfolded amid broader anti-trans legislation in Florida.
Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Larry Farber, and let's queer up South Florida and Florida. Florida school denies trans graduate his chosen name. A Florida school district is under fire for refusing to honor a transgender student's chosen name at his high school graduation. Charlene Barger says her son, a student at Escambia Virtual Academy, is set to graduate on May 27th. The school is in conservative Florida Panhandle and Pensacola. This is the same congressional district of former Congressman Matt Gaetz. Yes.
Yikes.
School officials have insisted on using his dead name, the name assigned to him at birth, despite Barger's request to respect his true identity. When Barger approached the school's director, Lisa Morgan, asking them to use her son's affirmed name, she was told it would violate district policy and be, quote, a big hassle, end quote, claiming other students might want to use inappropriate nicknames. Escambia County Superintendent Keith Leonard defended the decision, saying, quote, it's been our practice to announce fully legal names as they appear on birth certificates and diplomas at commencement ceremonies, end quote. But Barger has pushed back, saying, quote, he has been referred to by his chosen name by administrators, teachers, and students at the school for 3 years. It may seem like a small moment to those calling the names, but for those students on the stage, it's everything, end quote. The mother added, quote, it's about a student standing tall, hearing their name called, and walking proudly across that stage. To deny that moment is to deny their identity, end quote. This decision comes as Florida continues to pass anti-trans legislation, including bans on gender-affirming sports participation and changes to passport gender markers. For the LGBTQ community, moments like these are not small. They are everything, and Queer News Tonight continues to ask, why does this always seem to be Florida? Well, I don't know. I'm an ex-New Jerseyan. I've been here almost 6 years here in Florida. I used to make New Jersey jokes. Now I'm here and they're getting jokes in Florida. But unfortunately, you see behavior like this, and as a trans ally and a supporter of a trans women-owned production company and staunch supporter in the community, this type of thing is just crazy. How can you compare kids' nicknames that would be inappropriate? That's the whole point of controlling a school, having control over what's going on, and respecting people's identities.
But I would say this. I mean, I do not support the school district's decision at all, but I believe that the school district's hands are tied. I believe that it is now mandatory in Florida for trans people to put a name with their dead names, because you cannot change your name you cannot use your chosen name due to the fact that Ron DeSantis and the Republicans have basically want to erase anyone who is trans. So I understand the school's position. They might have an uphill battle to climb, and obviously they don't want to lose funding. If Ron DeSantis heard about it and decided to slash the county school, public school funding by whatever and give it to religious charter schools.
A diploma is not a legal document. It's the recognition. You can't get it in an airplane. You can't use it to buy alcohol. It's a name. Person's chosen name should be on there.
That's a great point.
I actually went by the nickname RJ for a long time. I had a job at Port Everglades and high security clearance. I had to stop using the RJ as a nickname. It doesn't make a difference. The name I have, Robert, is my real name. My girlfriend's name is Carvel. I'm glad she was born with that name, so she doesn't have to worry about that stuff. But I know people who have that mark or were concerned about changing their name. There's a reason it's a dead name. The person no longer exists. The person's transitioning, they transition to a whole new person. We celebrate the beauty of the person who they are. What's on their birth certificate is not who they are anymore.
No, as someone who's been a substitute teacher, my parents have been teachers, my first question on this is, I don't think it's about the stuff that you were bringing up, Bobby. I think they literally they put the legal name on the diploma, and they don't want to deal with the logistics of having the name on the diploma be different than the name they call out. Or when you say, well, we can make an exception for trans students, like, I think it's possible to make an exception for trans students, but at the same time, it's like schools really can't say yes to one student and say no to another for no reason, and that's a legitimate part of this argument. But like, my bigger question of all this is, I'm glad that they have not been dead naming him in school for the last 3 years, but that also makes me ask, why haven't the family started moving forward on changing the legal name? Because like, how are you going to handle the logistics of applying for college? Because the transcripts has to match the name on the FAFSA and the federal like student loan stuff and applying. So like, your diploma can't be different than what you're submitting to the school. That's college.
Can you even change? Can you even change your name?
You can change your legal name in Florida. It's a court proceeding, and you do need to be fingerprinted. But if you want,
it can be done.
It can be done.
I work with that a lot.
And normally I would say, if they transitioned in the last year, I'd say it's a little different. Maybe the school could make an exception. But if this has been known for 3 years, like, once going to college, there's also going to be an issue for legal documents. I'm imagining the students at the age where they have a driver's license, what name is on their driver's license? Shouldn't they be able to have the name that they want on their driver's license as their legal name? And, if they're under 18, it's their parents' responsibility to get the name changed.
Well,
back to another point of view I have is name changes, biblical. Conservatives are very biblical. Saul's name was changed to Peter. And that name stuck. It became St. Peter. So, upon my rock I will build his church. Well, Jesus said that. So Jesus changed names, and it stuck. Well, let's keep it that way.
Wherever the young man is going to go, I hope that he is going to college in a nice blue state where he can actually live his authentic self, get the gender changes on his driver's license in that state, and leave Florida behind.
Let's queer up the top stories of the year. This is number 15 of 2025. Pride wins as Dupont Circle stays open for WorldPride after LGBTQ pushback. On June 4th, we reported that one of the proudest moments for the community this year came ahead of WorldPride in Washington, D.C. Plans to close Dupont Circle Park during Pride weekend were reversed after swift backlash from queer leaders and residents. City officials confirmed the park would remain open as WorldPride celebrations got underway.
Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Trinidadi, and let's queer up the USA view. Pride wins as Dupont Circle stays open for WorldPride after LGBTQ pushback. Hotspots Happening Out has a large group in Washington for WorldPride. The LGBTQ+ community is celebrating a major win just days before WorldPride descends on Washington, D.C. On Tuesday morning, D.C. Council member Zachary Parker announced that the National Park Service has rescinded its controversial plan to close Dupont Circle Park during the main Pride weekend. He wrote on Twitter, quote, "The park is central to the LGBTQ community and neighbors will be able to enjoy it this year for World Pride." Just a day earlier, the Park Service had said it would fence off the park from Thursday to Monday, citing $175,000 in vandalism from 2023 and a formal request from D.C. police. The backlash was immediate, with queer leaders calling the closure a symbolic slap in the face during an international celebration of queer visibility. That pushback worked, and on Tuesday, Metropolitan Police Chief Pamela A. Smith officially withdrew her request to close the park. A department spokesperson told The Advocate, quote, Chief Pamela A. Smith has heard from community members and understands how significant Dupont Circle Park is to the Pride celebration, end quote. Meanwhile, watchdog group PCJF has filed Freedom of Information Act requests demanding transparency. Their executive director, Mara Verheyden-Hilliard, said, quote, "The threatened removal of public space from the public's use, notably in relation to LGBTQ plus pride and in apparent service to Trump's agenda, is a dangerous step and outside the legitimate authority of the Park Service," end quote. For now, though, the heart of DC's LGBTQ plus community remains open, and Pride is back at Dupont Circle. Major events at DC's WorldPride begin tomorrow and run through the weekend. You know, it's hard sometimes to determine what is political maneuvering and what is actually true, right? And in this, I used to give the benefit of the doubt a little bit more in previous administrations, but it's pretty clear that messages are being sent from the top that you need to close this under the guise of something else. Oh, you know, they vandalized something 2 years ago, so, you know, we just have to close it for this gay event that you guys are doing. But, you know, was it open last week? Was it open the week before? What about this is a little bit different than the others, right? So, Pamela, you know, I'm not sure what kind of game you're running and who told you what to do, and maybe if you feel fear of retribution, but that fear or that Transparency Act, you know, I'm hoping that we actually get to the bottom of this and that people who are fearful of maybe the Trump agenda and Trump appointees will also be fearful of the backlash that they're going to get from the other people, the other side of things when it goes public and everything is transparent. So it's my hope for everybody who's in that position of feeling like they're being bullied to do something. Just remember, there's backlash on the other side of things too.
Well, you know, this is what queer resistance looks like, right? This is a win, you know what I mean? Like when the Park Service tried to fence off Dupont Circle, the heart of DC Pride, basically, the LGBTQ plus community didn't flinch. We pushed back and we won. You know, at the end of the day, Pride isn't just a party. It's a protest. It's a presence. It's a freaking promise. And World Pride is going to kick off regardless. All right. We're going to have our park to do our event in, and you can't silence us. That's it.
Yeah.
You.
Yeah. Well, I like what you said, you know, in a previous segment about, you know, Pride going back to kind of its roots. I think maybe for the past few years after gay marriage was passed, we kind of maybe rested a little bit too easy on our laurels about what Pride is and becoming very commercial and just remembering it's always a struggle.
Yeah.
There's always something going on that's threatening to tear us down because we're just a smaller percentage of the population. And if you let it go unchecked, that majority group can just cannibalize us within our own country. So we always have to be vigilant about that. And yeah, I have been ignited in a different way being a queer male that I always need to be more vigilant about that and to speak up when I can.
And maybe this is where we decommercialize Pride and just make it, you know, a festival again and a party and a celebration.
I mean, you know, something like that, it doesn't sound too far-fetched,
No.
Will. It doesn't. Jason, I mean, you put a bunch of these events together, you know what I mean? Is that the key to go back to where we started, to go back to our grassroots?
It is. And like I mentioned earlier, like Pride is a feeling. Pride is what it means to you. It's an educational part. It's the historical part. It's what it stood for. It's that commercialism is kind of, we let it, but because let's be real, it brought in the dollars.
Right.
It brought in the dollars.
Yeah.
It made us have that much better of an event. But Pride could be a picnic with the 5 of us kikiing over.
It's true.
Like,
Yep.
let's go have a
Yeah, you're
barbecue
absolutely
and
right.
we can have
Air
a Pride
conditioner,
event.
yeah.
If you ever, because, you know, people have been bringing up, you know, why do you still need Pride? You know, if there's ever a moment where you're with your partner, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, whatever it is, and you feel that hesitation about holding their hand in a space, that's what it's about.
That's why we need Pride.
That's why we need it.
You know, just like Jason said, that Pride saved his life, right? I mean, that feeling of camaraderie, when you go to Pride and you see people who just love each other, kissing, holding each other, right? Without anybody looking at them weird. And you're like, I'm part of this community. I can do the same thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like you said, we're a much smaller community in comparison to the rest. And like, The straight world is the straight world. We live in the straight world. So we need our pride spaces because we need our gay spaces, just like we need our events. You know, it's where we can be us, truly, authentically.
Can I ask if, do any of you still feel, I mean, you're more out figures in the community, do any of you still feel at any time in public or that you have that feeling of maybe I don't want to hold
100%. Yeah, even more so after January.
Walking from my car to the gig sometimes.
In drag?
When I do gathering on Wednesdays and I park, I can't park right in front of the venue because it's already filled up.
Yeah.
And I got to park like a block away. I'm like, I got to choose to be brave. I got to get out this car, looking the way I look, because I'm not taking this off just to repaint. I have work to go to, and everyone should respect that. And I got to carry that with me, grab my garb, put the wig on, and walk to the gig. And no matter what kind of looks I get, I have to walk confidently. Because if they see me looking scared, they're going to know, okay, they know this isn't right, so I can tell them this isn't right. No, I got to be confident in that. So that's another reason we have pride. When you go to a queer event, and then you call the Uber to go home, and you're like, you don't know if this Uber is going to pull up, see me in my short shorts and my crop top, and cancel the ride. That's why we have pride.
Yep.
For those instances alone, where we are out in spaces where we don't feel like we have numbers on our side, but we still choose to be brave every single day because we have to. That's why we have pride. Pride is to be proud of yourself. We are very proud to be who we are. We're not all on the same level of that. Some people started way younger. Some people started doing it more recently. But we're all working for the same journey. And that's to be proud of ourselves and to be brave in doing so.
And also that you're not alone. There's a bunch of us out there to help you out.
And in Miami, just to say, because you guys are probably some of the most outspoken, like carrying that flag for, you know, the whole community, you know, and for you all to feel that way at times. And in a city which Miami and Wilton and this whole South Florida area is generally a bit more accepting of the LGBTQ community.
And there's more of us. There's more of us down here than in other places.
You know, and I remember maybe 5 years ago, I just remember I needed to be more out because I always kind of kept my identity a little bit more on the down list, nobody's business. But I remember like some kids that I heard in like some town in Mississippi that are like looking for somebody to say that there's hope, to like give them some kind of hope. And so we have to carry that flag, you know, if you feel that in your heart for all those other people. That's for me what pride is about.
Amen. I love that, Trini.
Let's queer up the top stories of the year. This is number 14 of 2025. Pentagon to strip Harvey Milk's name from Navy ship during Pride Month. We look back on our story from June 4th at a controversial Defense Department decision to remove Harvey Milk's name from a U.S. Navy ship during Pride Month. The move drew national attention, strong political reaction, and deep concern from LGBTQ leaders and veterans, reigniting debate over history, honor, and representation in the U.S. military.
Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm William Haas, and let's queer up USA View. Pentagon to strip Harvey Milk's name from a naval ship during Pride Month. In a move being called political and deeply painful, the U.S. Department of Defense will strip Harvey Milk's name from a Navy ship during Pride Month. According to military.com, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth ordered the renaming of the USNS Harvey Milk, the first military ship named after an openly gay person. A department official confirmed the timing is no accident, saying it aligns with the efforts to restore what Hegseth calls quote-unquote warrior culture. The official announcement is expected on June 13th. Launched in 2021 under President Biden, the USNS Harvey Milk honors a Navy veteran, a gay rights icon, a trailblazing politician. Milk, elected to San Francisco's Board of Supervisors in 1977, was assassinated the following year. His legacy, especially amongst the LGBTQ veterans and activists, is profound. This renaming is part of a broader effort. CBS News reports that ships honoring civil rights heroes such as Harriet Tubman, Thurgood Marshall, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Medgar Evers, Cesar Chavez, Harvey Milk, and other prominent Americans are also under review. Queer leaders are calling this a direct attack. Gay California State Senator Scott Wiener said, "This is absolutely shameful. Harvey Milk was a hero. He was a veteran who served our country. He died for our community. Now Trump and Hegseth are wiping it away due to straight, quote-unquote, bigotry." Stuart Milk, Harvey's nephew, said the family is heartbroken. He spent time aboard the recent ship and recalled the pride of every sailor, regardless of background, he said. Harvey Milk's legacy is certainly enhanced and celebrated by the U.S. Navy ship. However, his legacy will not be silenced or diminished by renaming of the naval ship. It's really sad. I mean, we have all these men and women that serve in our armed forces, and he's someone for them to look up to. And now they're just trying to, whitewash it all away from us and take it away from us, and that's really sad. I know, Jason, that's probably got to really affect you, because I know when I saw this, even though I didn't serve, my dad did it. This is a shame. This is not really fair. This is someone who we look up to in our community.
Yeah, it's literally someone who puts their life on the line for the country, and then the country comes back and is like, meh.
Yep.
Like, thank you for putting your life on the line, but you're not worth recognizing even the name on the ship. Just the other week, we had the Fleet Week here in Fort Lauderdale.
Lots of seamen.
Yeah.
Lots of seamen. And we went aboard the USS New York, and we saw pieces of 9/11 and how the naming of that vessel came about. So something for like 9/11, which catapulted me into the military, that was extremely meaningful for the folks who served with Harvey Milk, the family of Harvey Milk, the other veterans, any veteran who serves the Constitution and joined courageously and out because of how Harvey Milk was. This is an insult. And then, where does our military go from here as a whole?
Right.
If they can do this to a name of a ship from years ago, and then talking about Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Harriet Tubman, like, what are we trying to do? It just goes back to that whole erasing history thing. And it's insulting, but it's also so numbing because he's doing it so often and so blatant. We can't shy away from it or be quiet about it, but it's tough. It's another tough kind of situation to look at and be like, is this real? Like, pinch me, wake me up.
It's so wild, like in the era of technology, the era of information, as we move forward in time, there's going to be so much more accessible to the next generation and the generation after that, and yet they're trying to erase so much from that. They can't scrub this from the history books.
Nope.
They really can't.
It happened.
It happened. It's there.
Oh my God.
People in the future are going to know about this, and they're going to be upset that it happened.
Right.
So it seems like their acts are so hateful, and yet there's no one in their camp who's like seeing the future of like, people are going to find out that we did this and realize it was a bad thing to do. No one's thinking that far in the future on that dumbass camp.
Yeah.
That dumbass camp is doing stuff now to make themselves look good now and feel good now. And they're not realizing that they're going to crumble in the future, hopefully very, very soon.
But it's like saying to people, go fight for our country. Sacrifice your life, but protect everybody's freedom, but not your gay freedom.
Not your gay freedom.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Let's
Well,
think
the black
about
folk that also did it.
Let's think about the trans folks in the military. All right, and like, we're coming for you if you don't let us know where you're at. Okay, because they don't have us counted, right? And they don't know how many of us there are, right? God forbid that they're organized in that degree. But like you joined the military, like Jason, right? No offense, you're pseudo brainwashed to stand up for this country, to fight for this country, to lay down your life for this country, to that coincides with just life experiences, affects your whole entire family, and then because you're gay or you're trans, you're not even a being, you're not even a human. But
it's not even a draft anymore. People have volunteered to do this, so they want their rights protected, and
they deserve them.
That's what's scared about it, is that there's no draft and people are volunteering. LGBT community is volunteering to defend our country, defend our rights, and we're slapping them in the face.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I mean, it's a volunteer service.
Yeah.
Nobody forced me. Nobody gave me a number and said, you will join. This is your number, like other countries. Right. Literally, I volunteered to lay my life. I knew what I was getting into. And then, while I did not know that I was gay at the time, so serving under Don't Ask, Tell and Tell was a revelation for me. But I knew that going in. But yeah, you joined the military because of Harvey Milk, because of the Ruth Bader Ginsburgs. And now, yeah, it's just...
What bothers me the most about this story is that Pete Hegseth says, we're trying to restore warrior culture, right? And the irony of all of this is that Donald Trump doesn't exist without a bunch of beta lapdog males around them that can't stand up to anything. It's like, we'll do whatever you say. To Donald Trump. So you obviously are projecting this, that you have no backbone, you have no spine, you have no courage, right? And then you look at somebody like Harvey Milk and you look at, Harriet Tubman. Don't you think that she was afraid that she was going to get hung, lynched for what she was doing. And I remember when I first came out and I went to some drag bars and stuff, and I was scared of drag queens, right? Because I was scared of like what they might bring you up on stage, they might expose you or something like that. Later on, as I became more comfortable with being gay, and I realized it was a courage issue, because in our kind of hyper heterosexual, male culture, it's like anything that somebody thinks that you might be gay, anything that's really misogyny, anything that makes you kind of like a woman, is probably the kryptonite to any straight guy. Like, I'm not going to do that,
Yeah.
So it's like getting over that. And when you can, like, those are the truest kind of warriors that are like, I don't care what you're going to say about me. I don't care what you're going to talk about. I'm going to do the right thing. And those are the biggest warriors in our community. So
I'm right.
F you.
F you. And let's be clear that you can paint over a name, but you can't erase the legacy. All right. That's it. Harvey stood for visibility, for truth, for pride. And we carry that forward with or without their freaking approval. All right. And shout out to Stuart Milk, the nephew of Harvey, for being just an incredible pillar and for everything that he does.
We're looking back at the top LGBTQ news stories of the year from Queer News Tonight. If our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family. Don't forget to join the conversation on your favorite streaming platform. Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support. If our community is to grow and then thrive, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world. This is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, and Queer News Tonight. We'll see you daily at 8 p.m. To our LGBTQ+ world, we wish you a good night.